2 days since I've last been able to work on the van, been pretty busy. Today I think the water tank's actually arriving, which would be really good. The freshwater tank, the 100 litre freshwater tank that's going to be sitting above the wheel arch. I'll be able to hopefully fix that in later today. The fabricing of the plastic trim that kind of comes with the van. So what I've done is just marked up against the offcut of the thinner plywood, 3-ply sheet I think, against where I need it to go, the length, marked up the length and the width. I'm going to put this on the table saw, cut it nice and straight, and then we'll kind of slot into place, mark out the exact kind of cut and angle that I need, and then we'll look to carpet that with some of the offcuts of my anthracite carpet or charcoal carpet, whichever one it is. So essentially slot into there. What I need to do now, it's very difficult with one hand, is just cut it to the right width so that obviously it's not overlapping the roof. I want it to sit inside the roof. I fabric the 2 spots that needed to be done there. Hopefully you can see that. Trying to take the this back out, it took about 5 minutes. Probably stuck in, so I definitely don't need to screw it down. Nicely fabriced. You see the outline looks pretty good. Everything looks better once it's carpeted. Next, let's just stuff the gap with some of this, and then yeah, we'll be done. Right, I managed to fix it. Just wedged a Allen key in there with a 90-degree bend and pulled it, and it seemed to pop it back in place. So let's have a look. You can see along there. Let's have a look. There you can see along the join. This is the piece that we've just put in. All the way along, it sits behind the ceiling. It curves nicely around there. Yeah, and that's obviously that extra bit that I had to carpet. Something I'm obviously not finished yet with is these screws. I need to fill them in and paint them black. So that's got to be done. Quick little view from the other side. It's really starting to come together now. You can see, nice and finished. Yeah, super pleased with that. And I've just had delivery of the 100 litre wide ale water tank. Very excited for this to go in. Delivery took a lot longer than expected, which is why I'm only just getting around to this now. However, let's put it in and see how it looks. So there's pretty much as much room as I kind of expected. It's aligned with the kind of masking tape drawings that I've done. And it seems to fit perfectly well, so that's good. It's, you know, flush against the top up there, which is what I was expecting. I've had a couple of deliveries. It's been about a week since I've been able to do anything on the van. Just been way too busy. So we've had the tank arrive. I've also had these 2.5mm steel connecting plates. Just ordered off Amazon, arrived. So those are going to help me attach the tank to the van, as well as the washers and some M8 bolts as well that go into the pre-drilled kind of bolted slots on the tank. And then second thing I've had delivered are the hinges for the seat that I'm currently sitting on. I found an off-cut bit of timber, much thicker, bigger, more solid. Yeah, I'll get that on the wall, and then we'll have those metal struts kind of screwed into the top there. That'll be much more sturdy. Now what I've done is screw it in place and just lining up the tank to where I need it to be. Pop this in place where the previous marks were. I've had a bit of a genius idea to add some additional support to the tank I have left over, and still got the shelving units that were in the van prior to taking them out. The the AA shelving units. So what I'm going to do is make myself a support for this front end over here to take all the weight of the tank, so that it doesn't pull down on those top supports. They're just used for the kind of left and right support, like movement support sideways. Okay, I don't know how easy this is going to be for you to see this and kind of understand it, but we've got the tank here held up by these supports for now. What I've done is sawn this beam in half, and then I've screwed it in, so just one slot, just one hole in the right point. Now that's going to slot in there vertically, this one underneath, so kind of I can support that'll be flush against the tank. Then I'm going to screw this batten down into the floor, and then the bottom of the metal into that, stop it moving. This beam underneath here will take pretty much the entire weight of the tank, and then I'm going to screw this end of the beam into this bit of wood to take the kind of the vertical strain on this end, and that should hold it quite nicely. Things are starting to get quite tight in here now. I think it's only going to get worse as I start to build out the cabinets, so I'm going to need to make sure I get as much done as possible first before I do that. Okay, that support is going to do for now. Not going to do any more on that today, it's a little bit fiddly, I need a few more bits. So let's move on to the hinges. Another rather fiddly job, but we've got one in place, one more to do over there. Right, screwed in. Let's see if it works. I've only opened it. Yeah, let's see. Oh, that is satisfying. Very nice. What I think I might do is, you get those like gas piston struts that you have in beds, like ottoman beds that kind of go up. I'm thinking about putting just one somewhere on the inside so that it, you know, it doesn't drop. It will steadily go down. I think they're about 15 quid on Amazon for 2, so that'd be pretty handy. So now we're all back together. Slidey mechanism is there. That just slides out all the way to there. That's the full bed, or nearly the full bed. I've got a bit more to build on the end down here. And then when I want to access underneath, just bring it out a little bit further and lift that up. Been away for about a week and a half. Unable to do anything on the van. I think I'm about 3/4 of the way through this van build now at this point. It's probably going to be about 25 episodes, I reckon. It's not a quick process. We've had some amazing weather in the UK recently. I think it's hit like 34 degrees in a lot of places. Not so much in the Lake District, but it's still been pretty good. So the plan now, I've got some of the wood to start lining the inside of the cabinets. And before I begin, let me introduce you to someone. I don't think you've met him before. Let's say hello to Mr. Bilbo. He is my brother's dog, 8 months old. Cockapoo. Put your ear away. Hello. Busy sunbathing. Having a great time. Yes. Saying hello to everybody. I think I've disturbed his peace. Ready to play now. He's called Bilbo. Yes. Good boy. First up, let's do a stencil of the back wall here, because that van shape curves in, so it's a lot, you know, wider there than it is up there. So I've just cut out some scrap cardboard and cut this to size, slot it in, scribe it. That'll give us the approximate curve that I need, and then we can transplant that back onto the wood and then begin kind of re-scribing it on the wood. That's a pretty good scribe actually. Just completely guessed the rough kind of cut I needed to make, and then repeated it a couple of times. So you can see there's still a centimetre gap there. What this means is I can get this on the wood, just overcut the wood by maybe 2 inches or so, and then we can actually scribe the wood accurately against the wall. I think that'll work. What I'm doing here is just scribing it nearly all the way to the edge of the wood. Just needs to be approximate, and then from there cut this shape, and then we'll cut the approximate kind of width of the wood, and then we'll start sliding that in and working its way into the actual cabinet. Right, that is what we are working with to start with. As you can see, the initial cut down there and the width there. Once I've scribed this end and that's all sorted, we'll measure up exactly where we need to cut on the kind of the flat face, the 90-degree angle face, and we'll try and do that on the table saw, just to get it a nice straight finish. Right, after a bit of cutting and trying to force it in, we got there. So that's the panel in place, unscribed, or not on the final scribe. I basically had to cut out a section of wood here. Next step, we're just going to mark the line down this side so it cuts it nice and flush with the frame. Looking pretty good. I'll take that as the first one done. Just Just got to repeat there and there. But I won't show too much of that because it's just repeating the same process. That looks pretty cool. First two done. Obviously not fixed in place. For this one on this side, identical to this one, just going to repeat it. That's all three panels done. You can see here, creates a nice box effect. Next step is to mark up where the screws are going to go in. So to do that, I'm just going to basically trace around the frame on the actual panel itself, and then I can take that away and drill the pilot holes. Reason for this being, this wood is very thin, and if I start trying to drill pilot holes while it's in place, I'm going to probably mess it up and crack the wood or split the wood. It also means that I can kind of keep away from where potentially might be draw runners on the actual frame itself, which are going to run horizontal inside here. I don't know yet if I'm going to do them or not. I may just do them like on one thing, so I have one drawer and one cupboard, or vice versa. We'll see. Let's drill some holes. You can see they're spread around. I think I'm also going to glue this to the frame. I'm just going to repeat again on this side as well. Hoping this is the final cut. We'll see. Ah, so close. Right, have a quick look at that. There we go. So this kind of gap here is obviously inside the cupboard. This main face is either going to be tiled or painted, so I think that'll look pretty good. So that's these cabinet panels complete. Putting another support in on the kitchen counter section. So this whole area is going to be covered by the butcher block style countertop made out of reclaimed pallets. So I'm just putting an extra support in to give it a bit more structure. Let's whack on another two supports here, that way, and then I can cut out the actual wood kind of panel that's going to be the floor of this cabinet. If I've got enough wood, I might actually do the inside of this upper cabinet as well. And then finally, we'll do this rear section here, so another two supports, and possibly, again, if I've got enough wood, the actual floor panel of that cabinet. What I've done for this cabinet is put two beams in. Reason for that is I'm trying to use up all the scrap wood I've got. So that panel, I cut the size to fit here with a small lip there. I now need to cut a second panel just out of some scrap wood that I've got laying around. It will fit in there. Two reasons. Using up scrap wood, I'm trying to use this thin plywood as well, and not the thick stuff, so it's not too heavy. Really nice and strong though, with that support in, so we're looking real good. Cut the pieces, fit nicely. See there, once they've been screwed and glued down, perfect. Won't be screwing them down just yet, as I still need to access the tank, the bolt points. I'm trying to get this done before the rain comes and it's just started spitting. As you can see, the upper cabinet above the kitchen countertop, I'm just cutting out this wood and kind of scribing it as I go, so I've just got this bit left to do here, so I'll mark along there, cut that, and then we'll hopefully have a pretty flush base to the inner cabinet. Slight gap down the back, absolutely fine. This is going to be panelled and tiled. That will just be sealed up with some silicone from the inside. Scribed and trimmed, perfectly flush, looks good. Obviously not screwing it down yet and gluing it down. There's a few considerations for this cabinet actually, because I would quite like some under cabinet lighting. So I need to just think about how I'm going to wire that. It'll probably come through the, well, this is going to be in a cabinet, isn't it? So it'll be just down the back here, and then it's going to need to come underneath, maybe make a little hole in one of these beams, and then this will have a second panel cover thing over the top of it, so the recessed lights could probably sit in there. Or I get LED strip lights on the back side of this beam and don't have a panel covering that and just paint this instead. I'll have a little think and see what might be best. Another glorious day, nice and warm, a bit windy, 23 degrees, not too bad. Let's use some more of this scrap wood. This is the last I've got of this, I think 5mm plywood, and create the bed floor thing within the cabinet, the actual base of the cabinet. So repeat the same process as over there. It's going to need 2 supports going horizontal, and then we'll lay this wood back on it, just scribe up the edges, cut it, scribe up the edges, cut it, and that'll be that done. From there, I'm going to drill all the pilot holes for the baseboards. I think I'm going to use loads of the primer I've got left over and just prime all the insides of the cabinets. Maybe give them a little bit of a sand first around the edges, but the edges are going to be covered anyway with the kind of facing plywood. But I think a bit of primer will really kind of make it pop inside. It's kind of a bright grey. Yeah, give a good surface to work on. I'll then decide whether I paint a different colour or if it's fine just for the inside of the cupboard. But I think that'll start to make the van look like it's actually coming together. Done a nice bit of scribing just to get the last piece in here. Just a bit back and forth, kind of eyeballing it. It actually works pretty well. So final cut really is just to take off some of this side. So I've scribed it underneath. I'm going to cut it lengthways and that should just slot in. It's looking alright. That's the supports done. Scribing's done. Works out quite well actually. 25 degrees today, absolutely loving life outside. Feels like we're on holiday, however it's the back garden, which is pretty cool. Just wish the UK had weather a bit more like this more often in the summer. I always think it's kind of strange when the summer for the UK is supposed to be like the hottest period, yet everybody goes on holiday in the summer when it's the most expensive time, and you're basically missing the hot UK weather that sometimes we get. To me, it kind of makes more sense to maybe go somewhere hot in, I don't know, September, October time when it's a bit cooler here, yet in Greece or somewhere it's still, 29 degrees. Anyway, thought of the day complete. Let's jump into the van. This morning I am going to do the pilot holes on the inner panels for the cabinets, and then we're going to start the painting. I've got most of the electronic stuff with me now, waiting on one more delivery today, and then we're going to film and do the electronics install. That'll be done over the next couple of days. We're going to get that filmed. Looking forward to getting that one live, actually. I think that's quite an important video, actually. I think a lot of people on YouTube, spend quite a lot of time on their electronic system. I've gone for a more kind of simple option. I was going to go for a more complex install that was going to be a bit more expensive. However, I think my objectives for this van and other things in life, I think the route that I'm going to go down is a much better option. So stay tuned for that. We'll get that covered very shortly. That is it, we are primed. Inside the cabinet's done. It's the last thing to do today, to let it fully dry. Tomorrow we commence the electronics. Big day. New episode as well. Subscribe, like, and I will see you in the next one.